Yo, what's up, guys? WQ here, and I want to talk about reliability here. So, when you hear the words natural, number one thing you need to think of is, did it happen? Is it happening? How likely is it to happen? That's what it means. So, another synonym, another word for that is basically the word reliability. In my opinion, these words are different. They do have different meanings, and they're different for situations. Situationally, right? They're synonyms, but they're effectively the same thing. If we are looking at gameplay or like a strategy in gameplay, it's almost the same thing. Now, one of my arguments with natural gameplay and gameplay is that how natural something is much more valuable than people attribute it. So let's use a synonym there. Let's use reliability. Reliability as a factor is a lot more valuable than when most people give it, attribute it, right? So that synonym actually works, in my opinion. That actually works, and most situations I would say this works. So reliability, I would say, is highly valuable if you're creating strategies or you're looking to make your gameplay more natural. Reliability is huge. This is huge. Now, next video, I think I'm going to talk about, okay, so Worlds 2019 for League of Legends, which is the biggest tournament of the year. It's the most competitive tournament of the year. Is happening right now. It's like day one. The tournament just started. It's pretty exciting, and I love watching tournaments like this because you see lots of different strategies and lots of different teams that basically have never played each other. They have to play each other and win a best of one game, or like a best of three. It's a single limb bracket, best of three. And admittedly, the Riot Games tournaments are seeded very poorly, so some of the games are like kind of whack. But the point is that the games are actually pretty good. If you look at the gameplay, there's a lot of good, interesting gameplay to look at because some teams flop really hard. Like, some teams are super hyped up and they just are terrible, and a lot of other teams are just miraculous. They're just amazing, come out of nowhere. So it's always kind of exciting to see. It's also interesting for a lot of the analysts are always trying to like say this team's good, this team's bad, blah 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 blah. But something I've just never seen anybody talk about is this reliability factor, and we are going to look at this a lot because it's huge. It's huge, and now we're also going to figure out the difference between reliability and consistency. This is also a pretty big deal. Okay, guys, so reliability versus consistently. So let's just like try to define reliability. Basically, I mean, if you feel like you can do something, or if something generally works, it's reliable. Now, if something's foolproof, it's very reliable. And also reliability, it's going to be a scale. Like, it's not 100%. Nothing's 100% reliable. Like, in gameplay, we're dealing with anxiety. Nothing's 100% reliable. Like, but things can get close. Things can get really close, and depending on the anxiety, things are going to become less reliable. That's why it's like makes things more reliable. So if you find a visual cue for a trick in a speedrun, a lot of people just like are good enough. I found my visual cue, great. Or like, this visual cue is really good, I'm going to use this visual cue. But how reliable is that visual cue, right? And then why not find multiple visual cues? I mean, what if you found a visual and an audio cue? Suddenly you have two, and they're good. I have a visual cue and an audio cue, and they're both good. This is going to be a lot more reliable than finding a bad visual cue. So I'm actually going to go over some of these things. If you play Link to the Past, this helps out. If you don't, that's fine. These are real examples. This is all real stuff, real examples, and why a lot of people aren't as successful as others. So this is going to be helpful. All right, guys, I found a random Link to the Past speedrunner, and he's going to be doing this bomb jump. This is called hammer jump. If you don't know anything about this trick, it's double pixel perfect. Wait a minute. No, you have to get on a specific pixel, put a bomb, and then get back on another specific pixel. So yeah, I guess it is double pixel perfect. It's not frame perfect, but there is a timer. This bridge right here is collapsing, and you need to place the bomb. So we're just gonna watch it, just to give you an idea. If you have no idea what this is, just to give you an idea. So yeah, you have to get on a specific pixel, place a bomb. You get on another specific pixel, and then because the bridge is collapsing, that'll get you across the gap, right? So it's tight. It's right after the RNG section in this game, so it's a very nervous trick usually. So one thing we're going to look at is reliability, right? The way that guy did that, there's probably 10 different ways to do this strategy, but if everybody does it, it's going to look identical. But there's 10 different ways to do it. So there's little differences, and this is why gameplay naturalization is so deep. And it's simply a trick, and also why mentality to me is, nothing. It doesn't exist, because souping up your mentality for this, like, it might even work, but it's just like, what? It doesn't mean anything, right? But if you look at a gameplay naturalization, suddenly we can start to go into the small details where you can get the trick as fast as another player. Again, like if you watch this, it's going to be identical for everybody. Like this is going to look exactly the same as me doing it. It's going to look exactly the same as the next guy doing it. You can't get it, like there's not, like you're kind of limited. You're limited if you're just looking at like theoreticals. If you're just looking at theoretical, oh, I did the trick, therefore I can do it, Well, how can I get better at it, right? I must improve my mentality, right? Throw that out the window. This is why we're looking at naturalization and natural gameplay, because we're going to get more optimized, deeper into the little details. And this is this idea of reliability. Again, natural, and reliable are basically synonyms. So, let's go back to this trick. So, yeah, the first thing you want to do is get on a very specific pixel and then pause. And the reason you do this is because when you pause, you check which pixel you're on. And you have to pause anyway. So, okay, it's like, let's check the pixel. So there's a few different visual cues. Now, the screen's dark, so you can't actually see very well, but using my mouse, there's a few different visual cues for this. Now, originally, there was a runner who suggested you use the bottom left corner, and there's these dots, and if it's bright, you can tell better. You can actually see the dots. So, yeah, there was a runner that said, "Oh, you should just use these dots because the dots give you contrast." If you look at these dots, you have actual contrast between whether there's a dot or not. What other visual cue do you get? There's one pixel this works for. What other visual cue is good? There's like very little contrast. Like you can't really use the bottom of the screen. Like what are you going to use, right? So somebody suggested the dots. I'm like, this is a great idea. Now, myself and many other runners started to move away from this and reject it. And my argument for rejecting it, 2017 to now, is that it's less natural. That's it. What you should instead use is the actual tiles on the jump. You can actually look at the bridge, just look at the tiles. Like, so one thing is there's less contrast. There's less contrast in the tiles under your feet, right? But the thing is there's still enough contrast. You can still recognize the pixels. Number two is that since it's on your shadow, it's very, very, very easy to actually... You don't have to move your eyes. Like there's less eye movement, so that's going to improve reliability. It's more reliable. So there's a few other factors here too. If there's high contrast in pixels, it actually can improve reliability. So we're going to look at another bomb jump later. It can improve reliability because if there's high contrast in pixels, you can notice it, and if you can notice it, it's more reliable, right? It's like, oh, good, it works. Like there's a big difference between saying, oh, theoretically this could work, versus recognizing that this is good and then jumping on it. So something in this game you'll see a lot are on dashes. So yeah, let's go back. Actually, this is good. Yeah, this screen's interesting. So what we're gonna see a player do here is try to dash first frame, and I'll move my camera. Try to dash on the first frame. They're gonna stop their dash here. So if you dash in this game and you hit a corner, it's called a nudge, and it's slower because you like get stuck on the corner. So he's going to try to dash right here, maybe even slightly above it. Dash right here, and then dash right here. And he's looking for frame perfect dashes. Pixel perfect, frame perfect. It's the same thing for dashes. That's what he's going to do. Let's see what he does. Okay, yeah. Okay, so he didn't get that one. He didn't get the last one, to be fair. This thing right here. So, yeah, like he can't really reliably dash up, so that's fine. But it's actually slower. It's faster to... I think you want to do the first dash in first frame, but you want to like cancel your dashes with diagonals, and technically you want to start dashes with diagonals, and technically you can, because what happens is when you start a dash with a diagonal, you have a 50% chance that you the movement is a pixel faster, and it's like, oh, it's just theoretically better. But what's more reliable, especially under pressure? I just need a dash on the grid, versus I have to do all this complicated stuff that nobody does, and I don't even understand. Like, what's more reliable here, right? So dashing on the grid is much more reliable. It's technically slower, but it's much more reliable, right? It's much more obvious. It's much more goal. It's much easier to focus on as a goal. So what that means is that it's more natural. Actually, not completely, but it's a synonym. So we can just say it's more natural, right? So if it's more natural, then it has high in value. That's what I said earlier. Reliability is a value of gameplay that's way more valuable than we realize, and it affects gameplay in a dynamic way, in more different, more interesting way. Like, let's say your run is just 1 second slower, right? That affects gameplay, but it's just gonna affect it by 1 second. But let's say your gameplay is more reliable, suddenly it's gonna affect it differently. And if it's more natural, in my opinion, it's better. It's faster. It's better, which means it's faster, which means you should do it. So and this is one of these tricks to gameplay, natural gameplay, is that it's like very, I think, deceiving, and it's tricky to actually optimize a screen properly, because you're not really looking at like, oh, theoretically this is 39 frames and this is 29 frames. Like, do this strat. Who cares? You throw that stuff out the window, because in reality, one is 32 frames and one is 34 frames, and it's like, well, the 32 frames is faster. In reality, natural reality, in my runs, it's like, well, this is faster. But yeah, let's go over that bomb jump again, because I wanted to find some other methods of this pixel. So some people use the top of their hat. The top of your hat is not as natural for several reasons. One being that when you walk, the hat bobs up and down. So some people will actually use the top of their hat. Top of your hat, again, because your hat will bob up and down. It's a bad visual cue. So people do that, but it's not as good. It's, even if you can do it, even if you get the same times, it's terrible. Don't do it, because it's not. It has a serious issue with this reliability problem. It's less reliable. It's less natural, which means it's a bad strategy. Some people will pull their sword out and use their sword. This actually is reasonably effective. It is reasonably reliable. The problem is it's slower and it's dumb. There is another issue with it. So when you're manually getting on a pixel, you just need to get on the pixel. When you are slash buffering, or when you pull your sword out and then get on a pixel, you have to actually pull your sword out. Plus, there's this complication when you're pressing multiple buttons. So not only is it technically slower, because I can't just land on the pixel then place the bomb. I have to land on the pixel, pull my sword out, then place the bomb. So it's technically slower. And if you do runs, you'll notice that it actually is slower. But I think there can be complications with the buttons. Now, I actually don't think the sword method is that unreliable, but it is slower, so I would not do that. But there's the wall pixels, which a lot of people use and they'll stand by. But I mean, come on. What am I going to use? Pixels on the wall or pixels under my shadow, like on my feet, which I'm looking directly at that when I'm trying to line up Link. Usually when people are lining up Link in Link to Past as well, they're actually using the bottom of your shadow, because it doesn't move. That's like your base. Like, this whole game's on grid. The bottom of Link's shadow is the exact bottom of his hitbox, but it's also it doesn't move. It's consistent with his movement. So I'm already looking at the shadow. So it's like, what visual cue am I going to use? Well, the obvious one is the shadow. So let's go to another bomb jump, which, again, these bomb jumps, what are they? They're pixel perfect, not frame perfect. Yeah, here's the other one. Oh, looks like this is good. Nice. This is a good strat too. So what you need to do is hold left out of the screen. You have to hold left out of the screen. Dash. It's a 2-frame window. 3 pixels work. And because of the way Link moves, you get 2 frames to do it. Dash and turn around. And then place the bomb. And then you have to get onto a second pixel. So it's 2-frame window. And then it's pixel perfect. 100% reliable. Believe it or not, it's 99%, 99 to 100% reliable. You could do 100 runs in a row and get every run. Oh yeah, we were talking about consistency earlier and why consistency is a terrible metric. And yeah, let's go into that after this bomb jump. But so let's see, he got in the first frame. Okay, perfect. So, actually, let's go to that's the first frame. Yeah, let's go to the pixel here. So he's on the pixel, perfect. So there's several different ways to read this pixel, and one of the ways is to use your sword. People used to use the sword. Another way is to use the hat, top of the hat. Another way is to use the shadow, and then I think that's it for this one. So which visual cue is the best, right? And again, there was no consensus on this. Like, this is a real-time factor. This is how people usually optimize their gameplay. And there's no consensus. Like, a lot of people are doing all these different things, and it's like, well, there's one best option. So don't think this stuff's obvious. Don't think this stuff's obvious, and I guarantee everybody watching this video, you're doing silly stuff like this. So, you know, my point is you can get better. You can get so much better. If you really break it down, though, there's several issues. Now, this trick is really complicated. If you make a mistake, it gets really, really, really complicated. But what that means is actually the sword visual cue is not 100% reliable. It's not 100% consistent, technically. So therefore the reliability goes down. So the sword, we had to actually scrap the sword visual cue. Shadow doesn't work for similar reasons. So you actually want to use the hat. Like, the hat in this black line is actually by far the best visual cue. Another interesting thing, when you're going left and you dash, you guys can't see it. There's no way you're gonna be able to see it because of it's black, and then there's so there's no way to see it. But when you're going left, yeah, maybe if I pause, no. Okay, so there's two things here. One, he got there's two pixels that work here. There's the far left pixel, and then there's the right side pixel. He actually got the right side pixel. The reason I know that is because if you look closely on my mouse, you can see one pixel there it's like light blue. It's one contrasting pixel right there, right? So if you get one contrasting pixel and you're facing to the right, that means that you're on the right side jump, right? Now, the reason that I know that is because if you're going left, what you want to do is dash when those contrasting pixels are gone. You then want to dash, and that's how you can hit this 2-frame window very, very consistently. Where a lot of other 2-frame windows, I mean, two-frame window in 60 FPS isn't easy to hit, and a lot of other 2-frame windows in this game are just really, really hard to hit. But this one's super easy to hit. Well, one, yeah, it's muscle memory because it's right next to the door. But number two is once you cross this contrasting pixels, you can turn around. So if you combine muscle memory with crossing those contrasting pixels, the odds of hitting this 2-frame window skyrocket, right? So if somebody doesn't know that and they just assume muscle memory is going to carry them, their gameplay is less natural and their reliability goes down. And what you're going to see in tight situations or nervous situations, since their gameplay is less natural and their reliability has gone down, they're going to not perform as well. Now, guys, I'm not the grand arbiter of what is natural and not natural, right? That's reality, is that. So sometimes if you add more visual cues or more audio cues into your gameplay, it could get worse because you're over focusing. So it's not like, oh, I have 15 visual cues, I'm gonna win. That doesn't make any sense. It's gameplay. The point is trying to make your gameplay more natural. One way to make your gameplay more natural is to make things clean. So if you can find trigger points, you can make things much cleaner. So we're gonna go to another fight in this run. I guess a good one. I don't think this runner knows about this one. We'll have to turn the audio on for this. Actually, I think this guy plays with audio, so we'll just hear him talk. Okay, we'll have to find a different one. Yeah, let's just mute the audio. This runner only has 1 year of audio. I can't do it. Yeah, okay. So here's something I would call a trigger point. Well, okay, we messed it up. All right, let's just find a different guy altogether. Okay, here's what I do. I actually messed up in this. That's really interesting. Yeah, okay, this is what you do: slash, and then you gotta time these 8 arrows. So listen to the audio very closely. You know how the music in this boss fight is very like repetitive. Right when I unpause this, you're gonna hear like the dominant beat right there, and then it repeats. So after you kill the eyeballs, the second one, if you arrow either on it or right after it, you'll get the perfect arrows. If you do the fight the same every time. So if you didn't know that, you can always time this arrows. That's a reliable way. Think about that. I'm not timing the arrows. I didn't find it. Someone else found it. I'm not going to time the arrows. I'm using a reliable way to make sure I get these 8 arrows, right? I used to have to time them. You miss them. I don't have to time them anymore. It's not a mentality thing at all. It's just like, it's a mechanic thing. Right here, that's the first one, but right here, you hear the audio? That's when you shoot the arrows. So if you don't know that, the odds of missing those arrows can go up a lot. So what that means is, how does that relate to triggers? I'm looking for something that if I see it, I can always capitalize it on. So let's go to another really, really good example. Really good example here, and we're gonna look at 2 strategies. Actually, we can't even look at 2 strategies. There's one strategy that's good and then one that's not reliable. Actually, Lama's another good one. Hold up, gamers. Coming up with too many good ideas. Yeah, let's go to Lama. Too many good ideas here. I think I got a 2 cycle on my PB, so that's perfect. Okay, the reason I'm so good at this fight is because now this fight's heavily RNG based. So what I did is I found specific cues so that if I can see this, I know exactly what to do and I know exactly how to capitalize. That's going to make my gameplay more natural and more reliable, even though visually there's no change. It's a deeper level of optimization, even though visually there's no difference. So, and I get a 2 cycle here. So, what I do in phase 1, I get in position, great, and I have an audio cue, or I have a visual cue. So if I see this level up, I react, and I'll always hit the arrows. There's no way this is a 2 cycle. Wow, dude. Oh, wait, it was. Yeah. That's actually my D-pad. Okay, that's not a good example, but my point is on Landmo, that was just good RNG. If you look for certain things on Landmo, you can actually a better example is on Moldorm. If you find certain things, you can always capitalize on. So Moldorm is actually a good example. Because in Moldorm, there's 2 different ways to do the fight. If he's in the middle of the screen, actually, this is a good example even. Yeah, this is a much better example. Okay, so where I want to jump into the pit, if he's right here, I know for 100% chance I can walk up and then slash him to the right. So if I see that, it's like, let's capitalize on it, right? So if you can learn the game in that kind of sense, your reliability is going to go way up, which is an invisible factor, but it has a huge impact on the game, right? That's exactly what I do. And right here, if Moldorm is near a corner, let me move my... Yeah, this is so smart. This Moldorm fight is so smart. Okay, so if Moldorm's near a corner, what he's going to do is if he touches a corner, he's going to turn around and then his RNG changes. And Moldorm has 4 RNGs. And you can kind of read these RNGs. They don't really matter. But if he touches a corner or an edge, if he touches an edge right here, he's going to turn around and then change his RNG. So if he's right here, I'm not going to poke him. And I'm not going to slash his tail. Because he's going to turn around. There's a chance he's going to turn around. And then his face will be where his tail is when the tail's active. And I can't slash it. So I don't want to do that. So if I'm trying to do a speedrun here, which means I'm trying to do this guy fast. But also I'm on world record pace. I'm going to dash him right here. Because if I get good at the dashing, I'm not going to fall. And I can still get a hit in. What's the key word here? I can still get a hit in reliably. And it ends up being a lot faster than second place. So what should I do here? 100% go for a dash. And it's very easy to make that call, which knows how this is affecting my behaviors. This was the whole point of this Patreon group. Improve your behaviors through gameplay, not mentality. So I can boil this fight down into two simple decision making behaviors. It's like a flowchart. Is he next to an edge? Okay, dash him. Is he next? Is he not next to an edge? Okay, poke him. 100%. Break it down. So all the poke hits are 100% consistent, which means that only the dash hits I have to worry about, and the spin hits. The spin hits are even worse on the far left. And there's always going to be like a little random variances here, but all the poke hits are actually 100%. There's no variance there. So what do I do here? Dash him. Okay. And look, it worked perfectly. Well, here's interesting. If he hits this corner right here, I can't poke him. But most likely he won't. So what am I going to do? Pull my sword out, try to poke him. Yeah, see how he didn't hit the edge? Pokes 100%. Right here, I can get a poke it. So if he turns at me, I can get a poke in. If he goes this direction, I doubt I can poke him. I think I'm going to dash him. I actually don't know what I did here. I'm pretty sure I dashed, though. Okay, right there. See how he turned at me and I went for a spin? Right, because that's 100%. That spin's actually slower, but it doesn't matter because it's so consistent. It's like, I'll go for it. Right here, 100%. There's no way I can poke him. Unless he turns up, which is a pretty high chance. But I doubt I risked it. And see how I dashed. And right here on the last hit, this is another one of these triggers where if you ever recognize the situation, play for the RNG, and then you can guarantee something works, right? Reliability goes up. How natural your gameplay is goes up. So what I'm talking about on this last hit, Moldham has 4 RNGs. I mentioned that earlier. Turn left, turn right, go towards you, or go straight. He has 4 RNGs. So if he turns left, I can dash him. If he goes straight, I can dash him. If he goes at me, I can dash him. If he turns right, it's kind of a yikes. But if he turns right, guess what? He's going to hit a wall. His RNG will change. And most likely, I can still dash him. So that's what I'm going to look for here, though, is go towards me. Go towards me, straight's a decent option, and turn left. But go towards me. So I'm going to predict him to go this direction. So if he goes this direction, what I'm going to do is dash on his face, and I cannot get hit, and it always hits him. And if you time it right, you always get a first frame hit. So the reason I know how to do this fight like that is not because somebody told me, and it's not because of any other reason. The reason I know how to do this fight like this is because I need ways to do this fight that are 100% reliable, or rather, let's just say, not 100% reliable. Nothing's 100%, but they're more reliable. I need to make this fight more natural, right? See, I have a desire to make something more natural. It's not to do it. It's not to get a good time. It's not to, prove that I can do it. It's not to do to practice. Like that stuff, who cares? I need to make it more natural. And so making something more natural, a lot of the times, it's making it simpler and cleaner. The gameplay simpler and cleaner. And make the behaviors and make the execution more guaranteed. Again, natural just means that something happened. So if I can guarantee that something happens, it becomes more natural. So that's what happened on this fight. I figured out ways to make it more natural. I figured out ways to make it more reliable. And so watch what happens on the Moldham here. Goes at me. Boom. He goes at me. There's a green light in my head that lights up. Then I'm like, great, I can dash and get a perfect kill. That's what I do. 100% first frame. It turns a potential problem into a guaranteed that it's good. That's amazing. And there's probably 100 examples in this run I could point to. And there's a reason there's 100 examples is because that's how I think. I'm constantly looking for that stuff. If you don't think like that, you don't think it has any value, you're not going to be looking for it. So keep that in mind. Try to get this in your brain that this has value. Here's a way to do land mode. Okay, so this is land mode 2. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm looking for RNGs on a few specific RNGs. I have a guaranteed fight, and I can capitalize on this. So the first thing that's like important. That's like really important. And a noob player, and I'm not talking like a random player. I'm talking about a top 10 or a top 15 player. It does not have Moldorm strategies and Lamo strategies and Lamo 2 strategies like this. They just don't understand it. And we're going to look at the League of Legends worlds because that's what inspired this video. They're not going to know about this stuff. They're not going to be looking for it. So what I'm doing, number one, there's a lot of patterns that are guaranteed. I need to be able to capitalize on this. So I have to come up with strategies that are incredibly reliable and then can capitalize on this, right? And usually in this thing about speedrunning, I'm trying to do it faster. So the fastest options I need to be able to capitalize on. So I need reliable strats. So there's 2 ways to do this Lamo fight. This guy spawns, he's like 8 different directions you can go or something. But he can basically go left, he can go right, or he can go up and down. So if he goes to the right, that's the best situation because you can fire rod him right here and then fire rod him right here. And then you can go directly to this guy and hope he goes left. If he goes left, you can fire rod him right here and right here. And then guess what? You're back in the middle and the third guy spawns right here. So it's a perfect fight. If he goes left, guess what happens? You have to fire rod him right here, and then you have to fire rod him right here, and then this guy's spawning, and it's really complicated. Now, technically, in a theoretical world, you can always get a one cycle on this. You can always kill this boss fight in one cycle. Not two cycles. Is that strategy better than forfeiting a one cycle on bad RNG? Which strat's better, right? And if you don't play this game, you might be kind of confused. If you do play the game, there's no answer. There's no clear answer, right? And if you practice it for thousands of hours, you might even be more confident with the strategy that always gets a one cycle. You might even be more confident, and you might think it's better. But is it more natural? It doesn't matter if you think it's better. Like, none of that matters. For optimizing strategies, nothing matters except that the biggest question is it more natural? And then there's two questions. There's two things I do gotta address with this. Number one, if something is clearly faster and you think they're about the same in terms of reliability, and one thing's clearly faster, what's more natural here? I would argue the thing that's faster is more natural because your behaviors, you're gonna try to do that. Like, why would you do the slower strategy, right? So you're gonna do the faster strategy, which means it's still more natural. Right, what is actually happening? So. I actually recently changed my lane strat because I used to do the strat that you could always get a one cycle on. I forfeited that though. I went for the strategy that sacrifices the one cycle. If this guy goes left, guess what? I got the right RNG. Perfect RNG. Yeah, so if this guy goes left and you just don't attack him at all, and then this guy spawns, you can guarantee a kill on this guy, and then you can almost always get a kill in the third guy. The third guy's hard. And then you get a two cycle, which is slower than a one cycle. There's two factors here though. If you get a two cycle and it's the first lane mode that you don't kill, you lose two to probably about 2.5 seconds, which is not that bad. If this third guy you don't kill, I think you lose 8 seconds, or you can lose about 8 seconds. So if you mess up the strategy where you always get a one cycle, the theoretically better strategy, it's significantly more punishing. It's also considerably less reliable, since if you mess the first phase up at all and you still get good RNG, you lose fire rod. So your magic's lower right here in the top left corner. And if you lose magic, what happens is the rest of the dungeon becomes harder and slower. So this fight, you want to be as clean and as concise as possible. This fight needs to be very fluid because it sets up the rest of the dungeon. It's at the end of the run, and it's very difficult. So you need a very natural strategy. So there's going to be a ton of different strategies presented to you and that just exist, and you have to find the best one. And I think it can be kind of hard for somebody that doesn't understand gameplay naturalization. Okay, guys, we're going to go to my last example, which is League of Legends, the Riot broadcast. Okay, gamers, I just got a jacket on. But yeah, so we're looking at hold up, a League of Legends match where we have, I'll just turn my camera off. We have Clutch Gaming versus Royal Never Give Up. So Clutch Gaming is the 3rd seed American team, and they're not very good. I think most people expect them to lose every game. And then Royal Never Give Up is they're the 2nd seed in China, and they're a very good team. So 2nd seed versus 3rd seed, ignore that. It's a very, very good team versus kind of a bad team. But why are they a bad team and why are they a good team? Besides being, Chinese and there's more money and they make more money and all that stuff. Why are their players better? Well, their players are better because they practice harder. And they care more, and they take it more seriously. But that wouldn't actually explain mechanically, why are the players better? Well, what is actually what is the actual game difference in game. This is why I don't like mentality. What's the actual difference in game? Like, well, his mentality's better. Well, that's not like why. Like, what is that affecting? Like, what can you actually specifically observe and identify that justifies him being better? So this is the first game, and you'll notice that Clutch Gaming. Actually, you guys can't see anything. You guys will notice that. Yeah, Clutch Gaming actually got a kill, and they have more gold, so they're winning this game. 5 minutes in, right? So the reason I bring up this game and these teams, and I know, most people are wondering, like, what is League of Legends? The reason I bring this up is because this is actually why I'm making this video today and talking about reliability, because Clutch Gaming, believe it or not, don't have reliable strategies to win. Their gameplay is considerably less natural than RNG. And right here you see one of these mistakes, a behavioral mistake. This is a mistake on behavior to absolutely nothing to do with mechanics. Nothing to do with practice, nothing to do with mentality, nothing to do with genetics. It had nothing to do with play hours. It's a mistake on behaviors. Now, some people, maybe you could argue like mentality is behaviors, whatever. We're just looking at like a behavior. Here's the thing with behaviors. I can identify behavior. This teleport right here, this is a behavior. So this teleport means an allied champion is coming into the map, and he's gonna die. It's gonna be 1 versus 2. That's an identifiable behavior. That's bad, and it's so bad that it's like objectively bad. It's like objectively a mistake. So this is kind of my point of why you want gameplay naturalization so powerful, right? Because our CG's Clutch Gaming's like goal here, if you can read the energies of the game, is they don't have a goal. They're just trying to be better players, and maybe they'll win and clutch it out. Like literally, their name's Clutch Gaming. They try to clutch games out. Like it's not even a joke. They're pretty good. I actually like them a lot, but I don't think they have real goals. And one reason is because why is this guy teleporting in on this minion? If you have clear, identifiable win conditions in clear, identifiable, reliable strategies and win conditions, what's going to happen is if something comes up that you're not certain about, like one of those crazy it could work plays, if it's not in line with one of your win conditions, or if for some reason or the win conditions working, it'll change your behaviors, and you might not go for that teleport, right? You might not go for this. This isn't a game-ending teleport, but this is how this game went. Like this effectively ended the game if you looked at like momentum. It was a bad play though, and notice also the Nocturne goes in on it as well. So you can just notice how disorganized they are. Like this guy literally just died. He wasted a spell and died, which is horrible. And then the jungler, this is the other teammate. He just like, well, maybe I can go in too, right? So he wasted his time. This guy wasted his time, and the other guy died for nothing. Well, yeah, the other guy died for nothing. So the game pretty much ended off that play. But yeah, if let's say you target specific, clear, identifiable win conditions, what happens is this player is less likely to make that play. Because one, his anxiety goes down since he has an actual agenda. His anxiety is going to go down. Like, and let's say you can find guaranteed win conditions. Let's say you can outline and find guaranteed win conditions. Your anxiety is going to be even lower, even if you're in a really tense, nervous situation. Again, this is Worlds, like it's huge. It's a huge deal. So they're very nervous, and you could just blame that on nerves. But I'm not trying to blame that on nerves. I'm trying to win. Like, if I just blame that on nerves, it doesn't solve the problem. Like, I still made a mechanical error, and why aren't the opponents being as nervous as me? That's for me. If you're blaming things on nerves, guys, you got to stop that. Why aren't your opponents being as nervous as you, and why are they succeeding where you're failing? And I think usually people say it's a personality thing, but I don't. That's just stupid. That's just dumb. That's just stupid. Let's go back to my Link to the Past PB and look at this fight again. Well, this strategy is perfect. I don't think you guys understand it, but This strategy is perfect. Why? It's because I have a specific agenda. I have a very specific agenda before the fight starts. And if I see certain things, I can capitalize on that, right? It directs my behaviors. So if this first landmail had gone left, I may have killed him. Like, honestly, it may have, but I don't think I would have, because I specifically prepared this strategy for a nervous run. And this is a world record in this game. I was -20. I was very nervous. Actually, let's go back, because in my opinion, the entire gauntlet was like that. Like, this is a gauntlet. There's 5 screens. This is the first one. Typical. This is typical. That's all typical. Like, nothing new there. I mean, I even missed a slash. This strategy's sick. Typical. I'm prepared for stuff like that. You know. Here's another RNG. Okay, now this is typical. Good RNG, but yeah, typical. Nothing new there. This is a good screen as well, I think, because... Oh, what happened here? Yeah, you know, I mean, I guess there's nothing to really say there, but... Just a good going. Nothing really to say there. A lot of my strategies there, there's a deeper element where there's sets of RNG. And if I can get the right RNG, I can capitalize on it. It's the best RNG, and I know specifically and exactly how to capitalize on it in a high pressure situation. So a lot of this gauntlet right there, you can't really notice it. There's nothing to really say, but what you can talk about is capitalizing on value, improves reliability, makes the gameplay more natural, and it's not something that it's actually a lot of it can be a one and done thing, but it's something I call the clutch factor in gaming. So, and let's go back to the League of Legends example because it's better. Clutch gaming, they don't have that extra gameplay factor where they have a very clear, reliable win condition, and they are directing their behaviors. Because imagine if this team was better. This guy dies. He's gonna die anyway. Imagine if Clutch Gaming, the American team, was better at the game, and even with the teleport one, he wouldn't have teleported in because he wouldn't care as much, right? He doesn't care if his teammates dies as much. But the thing is, he's under really high anxiety right now, and if his teammate dies, it's bad. So he needs to teleport in and win that situation because he has to, right? Because they're basically playing from behind. And so in this mind, this teleport's a good idea. In his mind, it's a good idea, right? We need to get his mind to say that teleport's a bad idea. It's a bad behavior. One way to do that is reduce anxiety. One way to reduce anxiety is to get better at the game, right? One way to get better at the game is to get your behaviors more reliable. But yeah, it's to improve reliability within your gameplay by having very specific win conditions, being able to recognize those win conditions. I mean, imagine if this team actually did have win conditions and could recognize the win conditions and could practiced specifically capitalizing on them instead of just doing whatever they want to do. And you know, we're pretty good players. Like, hopefully we win. There's tons of examples in a game called Melee. Actually, we'll look at it. Because I think it's just too important. There's this player there's a bunch of players like this, but there's this one player called SFAT, and I love this guy, but his gameplay is literally just do whatever. It's just do whatever. One day we're gonna do this on stream. I can't wait. Yeah, let's go back to this. So this is what happened in the fight. You know, these guys are just going crazy, like high level gameplay, mentality gods. You know, their mechanics going nuts. But like, what? Look at this choke right here. It's just down here is nothing. That's what I was talking about. How do you fix this issue? Is it through doing 100 more hours of practicing wave shines? Is it through doing friendlies with the guy for 100 hours? I don't think that's going to do anything, right? Because he has a brain that tells him to do that. He tells him the down air right there. So if he practices for another 100 hours without really thinking, his brain is just going to tell him the down air there another 100 times because that's how his brain works. And so it's like, it's just going to keep like, yeah, that's a good idea. Keep doing it. Get better at it, right? You don't want to get better at that. You want to change the behavior. And so that's part of what natural gameplay is. I'm trying to change people's behaviors. I'm trying to change their mind map so that they do different behaviors, but also is to get better at making gameplay more natural. That's also why I'm saying reliability is a value of gameplay that's highly underrated. Highly underrated. Like, it's ridiculous, like, how much it's underrated. My solution to this guy's down air is to make the gameplay more natural. But let's go back to the right games example. So the CG DeMonte guy, basically through this game, like, I'm not gonna lie, pretty much through the entire game, off this teleport. And people are like wondering, like, why did he teleport in and then die and get obliterated? So let's think of I'm already thinking of ways to not do this. Like, I don't play this game. I don't play these champions. I've never used teleport in League of Legends since like 2012 or something. I'm already thinking of solutions to this problem that's going to make the gameplay more natural. And one of them is, why are you running teleport? Right? So there's two people that are going to use teleport. One of them's going to use teleport because it's a good spell. Like, you can pick your spells, right? I'm going to use teleport because it's a good spell. Right? Other people are using it. It's a good spell. I'm going to use it. If another guy is using teleport, because if I teleport in at 6 minutes on this ward in this fight, we can win the game. And it's common that people put this ward in the spot, right? So there's two people using teleport. They're both using teleport. One of them has a specific reason that they see value in, and it's a potential win condition. The other person uses it because it's good. Who's there? It's the same up front. And you guys know how I'm always talking about ego. This is the whole ego thing, where ego is basically is exactly just output-based gameplay. So if somebody else does it and then I do it, right? My decision for doing it is ego. It's just because someone else did it. I was told to do it. Now, if you have a belief for it, if there's a mechanic, if you have a belief for it, right? Oh, it's good because I see value in it, right? That's not output-based. That's an input-based mechanic. That's the difference between ego and not ego. And so what gameplay naturalization is trying to solve is it's trying to solve this ego problem. I'm arguing that, and I said this earlier, I'm arguing that he teleported out of ego because he thinks he can't, if his opponent dies here, they can't win the game, or they really need, it's bad if his opponent dies. It's really bad if his opponent dies. Therefore, we need to make this situation a good situation, right? That's output-based gameplay. That's measuring the results of the situation and then saying, I need this result. What happened then? It caused him to force an interaction, and forcing the interaction caused him to make a very bad misplay, which put him in a significantly worse situation. Input-based gameplay is to measure the outcome and then make a play around the outcome, right? So someone who were to measure the outcome of this play would be like, okay, my teammate died. I shouldn't teleport in. There's no reason to teleport in. Now, I argue actually the reason this interaction happens is due to anxiety, and the solution to it isn't to not do it, because to not do it is still output based, right? The solution to do it is to change your beliefs, and so that you actually have reasons for your decisions. And that way, if you're right about your new beliefs, you're going to have the right reasons, and then you're going to make the right interaction. So if that's true, one solution to this problem is to find uses for teleport. Like why did you pick up teleport? What specifically can you use teleport for? And I'm already thinking, like, maybe come back to lane. Again, certain matchups, it can be used as a laning tool. I'm thinking for dragon fights, because teleporting in for a gank like this is not reliable. You know, it's not natural. So we want to get rid of this. Let's replace it with something else. Let's replace it with something that's better. So if you teleport, like you fight an opponent and then you teleport back to lane, that's guaranteed. You get a guaranteed result. You'll always get something no matter what. So that's huge. And actually, it starts to structure the gameplay. It starts to structure the flow of the gameplay as well. Now you have a reason for laning mechanics. Now you have a reason for doing certain things in lane. So if you have one guy who thinks naturally and one guy who thinks, theoretically, they might even improve at similar rates. But the guy who's thinking naturally, his gameplay is supported and backed up by real good ideas, and he's gonna get way, 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 way better than the guy who's thinking theoretically, whose gameplay is mostly supported by, ego, and it's missing the foundation. So they might even get a similar result, but the guy who's natural is like way, way better, and he has that clutch factor. And the reason I think he's a clutch factor, it's not a personality thing. It's not even a clutch factor. I think he's just better at the game, and so he performs better. So it just looks more clutch. I think people who are clutch are just better at the game though. Like they're not clutch, they're just better at the game than the person who thinks they're not clutch. Which to me, being clutch is just it's a perception. Like I think people who are clutch, people just perceive them as clutch. Like why are they clutch? I don't know. To me, it's not a thing. So I hope you guys like this. Give me your questions in the comments. We went over a lot in this video. We talked about reliability, natural, ego. This is how you solve ego. This is why we're trying to naturalize your gameplay. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know everything. And yeah, next video, I think we're talking about, actually, I was going to talk about clutchness, guys, but we talked about it at the end of this video. So, but yeah, take it easy. Also, feel free to post clips or questions or comments, because again, I don't play this game, and I'm already seeing solutions to this mistake right here. And I used to play League. I'm already seeing solutions to this problem right here that are dynamic and non-linear, that are going to help out everything about the game. It's not just the specific interaction. Like telling yourself to just not teleport in, telling yourself to just not make that mistake, do something else. It doesn't make any sense. Like anxiety is a factor. You need to change a fundamental underlying understanding. That's another thing this guy who teleported in could do. He could change his understanding of the game, which would change whether he's going to teleport in or not. You know. So anyway, yeah, let me know your thoughts on this stuff, guys. It's a big deal. See you guys in the next video. Peace out.